I've been thinking a lot more about the Nilou team setup that I've been playing with Lauma, and as you probably know, I did go out of my way to get C1 Lauma so that I could try playing with someone like Tortellini in Nilou's teams. The weird thing though is that I seem to have come across some very interesting discovery. Tartaglia might be too good for Nilou. Let's remind ourselves of Tortellini's strengths in regards to a Nilou team. In AoE, Childe famously has the most Hydro app in the game. The main factor is, of course, the Riptide status effect. Using his bow ult instead of his melee ult applies Riptide to everyone hit by it. Hitting enemies with a melee attack from his skill triggers a Riptide slash every 1.5 seconds for more AoE Hydro app, and the bow ult is actually the first ult to technically use less than the maximum energy pool by getting a 20 energy refund, I believe. When we play a standard deviation Nilou team, double Hydro, double Dendro, what happens? Well, if you can start with a Dendro aura, you theoretically keep that Dendro aura. 1 unit of Dendro can completely remove 2 units of a Hydro aura. However, it takes 2 units of Hydro to remove 1 unit of Dendro aura. We tend to use this principle as the basis for putting more emphasis on the Hydro character's build as the trigger in these Nilou teams. In these teams with double Dendro, the strength of the aura is typically whichever attack has the highest gauge units. Keep that in mind. Who is the favorite amongst the TCers at the present moment? It's Kokomi. Especially if you don't have C1 Lauma, Kokomi becomes your healer. The Bloom's self-damage did get nerfed, so you don't need as much healing anymore to sustain the Bloom explosions, so you can actually just very easily build full EM Kokomi. We are of course relying on the Bake-Kurage jellyfish to trigger the Lunar Bloom reaction though. Now keep in mind this jellyfish is stationary, that's why Sack Frags is particularly useful on someone like Kokomi. Attacks do happen once every 2 seconds and it's 1 unit of Hydro that is being applied, so using that principle again, you know, someone like Lauma can very easily sustain someone like Kokomi. Keep in mind the 1 unit Hydro every 2 seconds. What else applies elements every 2 seconds? It's Lauma, and also C1 Nahida. So in these Nilou teams, Lauma alone can sustain 2 Kokomi's worth of Hydro. Nilou herself also applies Hydro once every 2 seconds, so that's why that checks out. Which brings us back to Tortellini. Because with the Dendro that's left over, surely a character with even more Hydro app would be better and can in fact result in more Bloom seeds and Bloom DPS. Well, that's the thing. I did a test using the old Spiral Abyss, since we don't actually have any particularly suitable test dummies for this, both Chamber 1 and Chamber 2's AoE halves, just to see whether Tortellini, Kokomi, or my personal preference, on-field Candace would be the stronger pick, and this is what I got after multiple tries on each chamber. I think I've identified the problem, especially when using DMC over Nahida. Nahida in the test wouldn't help Tortellini that much since the targets are too squishy and this is AoE multi-wave content. At least DMC would allow Tortellini to be on field for maybe multiple waves, so that's actually pretty good. With Lauma and DMC stacking the Dendro app, the resulting aura would still only be a 1 unit Dendro aura. The problem, I think, is that Childe simply has too much Hydro app, which causes enemies to have Hydro auras, meaning suddenly it's Lauma and in this case DMC who are the triggers. As a result, we are seeing less seeds that are being produced. 1 unit of Dendro on 2 units of Hydro only produces 1 seed. this also results in less DPS. And then on top of that, I haven't actually built DMC on like some kind of full EM build or anything like that, so her blooms will be doing significantly less damage. At least with my Lauma build, already at level 90, I do also have just above 1000 EM on her or something like that, so at least that works. Which brings us back to the thesis and the namesake of this video. Tortellini is too good for Nilou teams. But what if there was something that we could use as a test dummy for these Nilou team setups that could allow Nahida to shine, and perhaps give Tortellini enough Dendro app to make full use of his massive amounts of Hydro. Especially with her C1, Nahida's tag hits a smidge slower than once every 2 seconds, provided you're still doing reactions, with famously 1.5 units of Dendro. This being stronger than Lauma's Dendro app would result in a 1.5 unit Dendro aura instead. This would require, theoretically, 3 units of Hydro to clear. Thus, should make it less likely for Tartaglia to overpower the Dendro aura and cause Lauma and Nahida to be triggers instead. That being said though, look, even if Lauma and Nahida become the triggers, that's okay, because both of their builds are currently EM crits, so you know, they wouldn't be the worst triggers in the world. So the moment of truth. Here is the comparison between Kokomi, Tortellini, and Candace. Once again, I made sure the team's energy was full from previous chambers just to make these fights a lot more interesting. I figured we have ourselves Magu Kenkis. That should mean that we can actually make full use of Tortellini as well. And it seems to me that the issue that I've been facing with Tartaglia might be the ult into immediate use of his skill. It's a lot of Hydro app in that short sequence right there. And so because of that, the Dendro characters may have to play catch up just to try and get an overwhelming Dendro aura again, which in turn kind of bricks the entire team. Especially because of his skill activation for some reason having 2 units of Hydro. But even with that, the other issue might be Tortellini's massive Hydro app and Nilou's Hydro app still being too much for both Lauma and Nahida's Dendro app. Basically, it seems to me that you'd have to nerf how much Hydro Tortellini is applying by regularly dashing, not using Nilou's ring, and waiting a bit after ulting to use his skill, and perhaps not even use his skill near the targets that you want to attack. All of this to say, even though theoretically I would have thought that Tortellini should be one of Nilou's best teammates, it seems in practice he's too good to the point where he's actually not as good. Evidently, on-field Candace is still pretty good, but Kokomi remains as one of the easiest teammates to use, which in turn devalues any need for Lauma's C1. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Are you trying to play Tortellini in Nilou teams, and what has been your experience with this? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoy. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Imp action, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!
No time.